Yeah, I'm glad to have you on.
Yes.
All right. Welcome. Namaste, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar with Sri Jijit Nadumuri Ravi. We're going to be talking about when the rivers spoke. We're going to be mapping the worlds of the Rigveda. And it's amazing to explore how deep our Itihasa is. And there's so many layers to it, right? Our Rigveda is not just um, sacred hymns, right? It's a living document that was embedded uh, in a real landscape and historical timeline. So with Jijitji, we're going to get into some of how the rivers that were actually named and discussed, how they described migrations, and they sketched a world whose geography can still be traced through hydronyms, river networks and terrain, right? How they name the rivers and those networks. And so we're going to look into, I don't think this is just a short session. We're going to have question and answers at the end. But there's 41 rivers named in the Rigveda, and maybe we'll talk about one or two of them, what you're interested in and what Jijiji is focused on. And we'll talk about how that information is used to reconstruct what happened in early Vedic civilization and throughout. So I'm glad that you have joined us from around the world. And if you haven't yet, please put in the chat where you're zooming in from. And with that brief introduction of our topic, let me introduce our panelist, our faculty, Jijit Nadumuri Ravi. He was actually a ISRO, India Space Research Organization scientist, and he had a whole career in that field, including an MBA in information technology. But it's his recent publication, I think, of three books in particular: The Rivers of Rigveda, The Geography of Ramayana, and The Geography of the Mahabharata, which really the amount of research he's done and how he's put together so much information in a really a wonderful compendium. It's really been amazing to work with you. We'll definitely look forward to hearing your overview of what you've put together and the maybe the whole time frame, right, of from beginning to your focus, right? All right, with that, let me hand it to you to get us started.
Yeah. Namaste, Ankilji. Is it possible for the Zoom link to be shared in the chat? Because some of my India-based friends expressed some interest in seeing this webinar. And
They
if
can actually go to the YouTube Live. You know, that's working well. I think that's going on.
okay.
Here's the link for the YouTube Live. If they want to register for webinars, and anybody, if you see this later, you can register for the webinar and then you'll get the link to join the Zoom. I'll put those both in the
Oh,
chat.
okay. Yeah, I will. I'll actually. I'm not sure how it works out. I will just share the this YouTube link so people can watch it from the this link.
Yeah, please. And then I also
Uh-huh.
put the registration page. And if you're new to it, you know, we do webinars pretty often at Hindi University of America. Last year, we did 91 webinars on all sorts of topics with different faculty teaching courses, experts in their fields, people bringing interesting conversations to you. And so thank you for joining. If you want to, again, Sandeep Ji from Toronto, thank you for joining. Arun Kiri from Los Angeles. Yes, I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. Um, yeah, so if you haven't put your name in the chat, want to get a shout out if you're in the Zoom, please do. And then I think Jijiji, yeah, please share the YouTube link or the registration link for the webinars, and they'll get information about future webinars as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did share it, so I think that's done. So like we can proceed to the next step, and
Yeah.
then I can start
Yeah. Go
discussing
ahead.
this particular book. So all set. So I shall I start?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So Namaste to Ankurji and Hindu University of America and all the audience and all the guests who have assembled for this webinar. So myself, as Ankurji has introduced, I have the good opportunity of work in the Indian Space Research Organization. I did contribute to the Chandrayaan 1, the first moon mission, successful moon mission to from ISRO. And after that, I spent a little more time in ISRO for the GSLV series. I was part of the two or three, four GSLV launches. And then basically I moved professionally. I still work as a space advisor in some IT organization, but my passion and my focus is on to the ancient Indian scriptures, and it started in ISRO when I looked into the Saraswati River related hydrology maps and the satellite maps that ISRO has produced, because Indian Space Research Organization has done an important role in the study of Saraswati River. And the satellite maps, Indian remote sensing satellite maps, that has played an important role in mapping the paleo channels of the river Saraswati. And it everybody, because there are a lot of land surveys done starting from the during the period of the British rule. The archaeologists under the British rule, they have done the land surveys. But once ISRO send the satellites into the space, and once it is observed, the entire northwestern India, from the Himalayas, Haryana, Punjab, Indian side, and the Pakistan side of the Punjab and Rajasthan, and including Ran of Kutch in Gujarat, then it becomes very clear without any doubt about this particular river Saraswati that was flowing from the Himalayas through the Haryana. Exactly where we in the Mahabharata, they locate the Kurukshetra battlefield. So this river Saraswati, the paleo channel of the river Saraswati was flowing through this Kurukshetra, the northern boundary of the Kurukshetra battlefield in northern Haryana. And then the wilderness that is indicated in the Mahabharata, Dvedavana and Kamyakavana, that all this, of course, the forest is now inhabited, but all those places we can directly see from the satellite map. And somewhere close to the today's Rajasthan Punjab border, but of course in the Pakistan territory, in the Fort Abbas and Fort Dharawar, there the river Saraswati, the last the channel of the river Saraswati got dried up in Vinashana. And we can actually see from the satellite map the entire course, the paleo channel course of the river Saraswati from the Vinashana point close to the Fort Abbas and Dharawar up to the Ran of Kutch. We can directly see from the satellite maps. And it's a very wide channel, some places 15 to 18 kilometers in width. That was the mighty river Saraswati, but dried up, and its paleo channel. And
Do you have
of
any
course,
images of that?
uh, currently I don't have with me, but in the course, in the Rivers of Rigveda course, I can show it, but maybe let me see if I
No,
can
no, no. We'll
open
save it for
a
later. We'll save
browser.
it for later, maybe in the Q&A. Just keep
In
on
the
going about.
browser, anybody search in the Google map, set it up a satellite map instead of a city map, and look at the northwest India. You can see it. It's not. It's a very open, and it's accessible for anybody. Maybe by the end of in the end of the session, I will try to open the browser, or set up the Google map and show you. And most interesting part is that in the Mahabharata, Balarama makes a statement that while he is traveling from the this Ran of Kutch, where the this Dwaraka is located, from there he goes to the Saraswati mouth, and from there he travels, and he says that I can use the river Saraswati as a road because there is no water, but the entire dried up paleo channel, Balrama is able to see it. And he was having all the chariots, and by the way, some camels also in the entire procession of Balarama's pilgrimage. So, with all the chariots, horse chariots, and camels, he traveled through the dried up riverbed of river Saraswati, the southern course, reach up to Vinashana, and from Vinashana onwards, you see the river is actually flowing. And then that flowing along that flowing river, he travels along the Dvaita Kamigavana and reach Kurukshetra. And the last point is mentioned as located on the river Yamuna, which shows that the Saraswati, the northern point of the Saraswati was very close to the river Yamuna. And then he gets information that the last part of the 18th day of the Kurukshetra war is happening, and Bhimasena is facing the Duryodhana. So both of Bhimasena and Duryodhana are his disciples. So he goes and sees the final battle between Duryodhana and Bhimasena. So this is all from Mahabharata. But of course, I just mentioned all these things in a passing reference because Rigveda have a lot of connections. Unknown to many, Rigveda is having a connection with the Mahabharata. I don't know anybody can guess it, but maybe because of the lack of time. The king Shantanu, the ancestor of the Pandavas, is mentioned in the Rigveda 10th mandala. So the Rigveda basically have just like the Mahabharata having 18 parvas and Ramayana having 7 kandas. Rigveda has around 10 mandalas. It's a total 10 mandalas, out of which 10th mandala is the youngest, the last mandala of the Rigveda. And in that, there is a contemporary king, that is this Shantanu is mentioned. And not only Shantanu, his brother Devapi also mentioned in the Rigveda. So we can know that, okay, from the 10th mandala of the Rigveda, we have the Shantanu and the Devapi living as contemporaries. And after that, a few generations, then you have Pandavas and the Kauravas, and they fought the Kurukshetra war. And Balarama is reporting that during the Kurukshetra war period, Saraswati is dried up in the southern half of the entire course, and we can see it in the satellite map. So it's all very realistic and I would say very much history based kind of information that we are getting. Now, as Ankurji has mentioned, so our current topic is the geography of the Rigveda, which is described through around 41 river names. So, in terms of river names, there are 41 river names, but in terms of unique rivers, there are 33 rivers. That the difference between the river name and the river is because some of the river have the same name, or I mean, sorry, the some of the rivers have multiple names. So, for example, the river Saraswati is also known as Veerapatni. The tributary of Saraswati, the Drashadvati, is also called Hariupya and this Kulisi. Then there is a tributary river of this Yamuna, distributed river of Yamuna, the Paleo Yamuna channel. It is called Yavyavadi and Anjasi. So some of the rivers have multiple names. So in other words, in simple terms, there are 41 river names and 33 unique rivers. And our course, the rivers of Rigveda, which I am repeating again for this year, which I have already done the same course in the previous year. So I'm repeating this repeat course, which is focused on this 33 rivers. And by going through these 33 rivers, the kind of value that we are getting is one is complete refutation of the Aryan invasion theory. That is one of the important value coming out of it, because when you look at the sequence in which the Rigvedic people have migrated from the early mandala of the Rigveda, 6th mandala onwards, the last mandala, 10th mandala, you can see the oldest river which is occupied, or the most oldest river, they are all in the Haryana, like Saraswati, Apaya, tributary of Saraswati, Drishadvati, Yamuna, Ganga. So these are the most ancient rivers mentioned in the Rigveda. So that means the oldest period of the Rigvedic composition, they were very much within India and very much within Haryana and Western Uttar Pradesh. And as we progress the later and later parts of the Rigveda, or the younger and younger parts of Rigveda, we see the other newer and newer rivers. We see the Satluj Bias in Punjab, that is Sududri and Vipash, like that mentioned in the Rigveda. So you see progressively people migrating from Haryana to Punjab, and then subsequently we see the Pakistan side of Punjab rivers started appearing, like Ravi, that is Parushni River, and Chanab, that is Asikni River, and Jalam, that is Vidasta River. And subsequently, very soon we see Indus River itself, that is Sindhu River. And to surprise everybody, after the river Sindhu is mentioned in the Rigveda, subsequent part of the Rigveda, later parts of the Rigveda mention the western tributaries of Sindhu, like the Kabul River, which is mentioned as Kubha River, then Gomati, that is Gomal. So it is a progressive westward migration of people that you can see in the this when you actually trace all the rivers inside the Rigveda from oldest to the newest, we get a progressive migration of people from western UP Haryana region towards Punjab region, and progressively into the further western parts of the Pakistan, and last stage you reach up to Afghanistan, where the Kabul River is mentioned as Kubha. So this is the kind of one of the important value addition that it is completely refutes the Aryan invasion theory. The other important value addition is that it gives a historical anchor or historicity to both Ramayana and the Mahabharata. So the Mahabharata is actually getting a historical anchor inside the Rigveda, because I mentioned Shantanu and Devapi are mentioned in the 10th mandala of the Rigveda, and that is almost many people knows about it because it's very straightforward and obvious. And but it is also the surprising that the Ramayana, that is Rama of Valmiki Ramayana, that is the hero of Valmiki Ramayana, the Maryada Purushottam Sri Rama, Vishnu Avatara. So that Sri Rama is mentioned in the 10th mandala of the Rigveda. Just like Shantanu is there in the 10th mandala, Sri Rama also is there. That means the Rigveda 10th mandala is giving a historical anchor both to both Ramayana and the Mahabharata. Now, the people normally, many when I say this, people ask, no, the Rigveda, the Ramayana and Mahabharata are itihasa, so they are history. So why should we take this much trouble saying that the Rigveda is an anchor? The reason is because the itihasa, they are actually history, but they are not like a normal history text. The itihasas, they have evolution. So large part of the Ramayana and Mahabharata are authored contemporary to the Rama and Pandavas. So there is a large part of the Ramayana which is actually the slokas are authored in the during the lifetime of Rama. Similarly, in the Mahabharata, large number of slokas are authored during the lifetime of Pandavas. But these two texts continue evolution during the Mauryan period and Sunga period and Gupta period. That is why we require some anchor. So we have to anchor the oldest information in the Ramayana and Mahabharata with a text which is older than them. Because otherwise, people can refute you or dispute you, saying that, okay, these are all these texts, the Ramayana and Mahabharata were evolving in Mauryan period and in the Sunga period, in the Gupta period. So all this might maybe some Mauryan people have written it, or some Gupta people or Sunga people have authored the Ramayana and just back projected, saying that Vyasa authored it. No, but that kind of, if somebody makes that kind of a false statement, then we can refute them, saying, no, look, the maybe Ramayana and Mahabharata are continually edited into the Mauryan period, Sunga period, Gupta period. But look, we have Shantanu in the Rigveda, we have Devapi in Rigveda, we have Rama in the Rigveda. So the Rigveda, nobody have any dispute that it is untouched by the Mauryans or the Sungas or Guptas. So this is our value of having the Rigveda as an important text which gives historicity and anchor to both the Ramayana and Mahabharata. And the other one is the out of India theory. So I give two fruits. These are the two fruits or two value additions of the book, the ancient text Rigveda. And many of you must be knowing that Rigveda is the oldest text, arguably the oldest text of humanity, which is preserved. So you may have some of the ancient text, you may get the name, just the name, but the text itself is not existing. You may get that, okay, there was such an ancient text existed. For example, some of the epics of Central Asia, only the names are there and the number of verses that were there in that ancient epic, but not even a single verse, not even a single word is preserved. Compared to that, Rigveda, this is one of the oldest text. I mean, arguably the most oldest text of all the Indo-European languages. In none of the languages, they will say Hittite language is very old, Tosharian language is very old, Greek is old, like that. Make a lot of people make a lot of claims, but everybody they don't have any text in the Greek language or Hittite language or in the Tosharian language or Germanic language or any Slavic, Baltic, Celtic, Italic languages, or even Western language, the Zoroastrian texts are later, younger than the Rigveda. So compared to any other text in any language, that is Indo-European language, the only the Rigveda is the oldest text. So this is the another important aspect of this particular text. You are whenever you are actually part of this particular course on the rivers of Rigveda, for which this seminar is an introduction, you are dealing with the most ancient text of humanity, the most ancient text that is preserved till date without any modification. There are 10,552 slokas, riks in the Rigveda. There are 1,028 suktas in the Rigveda, and there are 10 mandalas. So this much amount of huge information, which is several times larger than the information stored in the Egyptian hieroglyphics or the Sumerian cuneiform script. Many people will come and tell you that the Egyptians are the greatest civilization, the Sumerians are the greatest civilization. Because why? Because they have preserved their ancient information in the script. But that is no in when you that's a surface level that may be looking like great, but when you look at the Rigveda, the rishis were very big genius, because see, if they wrote it down and forgot about the recitation, they didn't memorize the Rigveda, what would have happened? Like, you will have a script, the Rigveda will be written in some script, but nobody will be understanding it meaning, and people will have thousands of interpretation, and it will be completely nonsense. And that is what happens in the Egyptian script, in the Sumerian script. Everything is like that. They get some information, maybe 5% or 1% of the information inside the Rigveda, which is written, it's written in the script form, either hieroglyphics or the Sumerian cuneiform. But Rigveda have more than 100 times bigger information orally preserved, memorized, and transmitted in the form of the 10,552 verses and 1,028 suktas, and this many 10 mandalas. So who is smarter compared? I mean, compared to Egyptians and the Sumerians, our ancient Rigvedic rishis were much more smarter, because even though they are aware of writing, Indus script was existing almost the same time the Rigveda was being authored, but they didn't care to. I mean, they didn't plan to write this Rigveda as part of the Indus script, and that was a well thought decision. If they have done that and then forgotten about memorizing the Rigveda, we would have lost everything. And whatever script decipherment that we have now, Yajnadevam, and that is Bharat Rao, he has deciphered the Indus script. But everybody knows that the script's capacity to encode this huge amount of information like Rigveda is preserving, it's not possible. Even only 1% of the information can be preserved. Now, this is my primary introduction. Now, let me move some slides so that you get a glimpse of what you will be learning in this particular this 11-week intense course on the Rigveda. So let me share my screen.
Yeah, and as you get to sharing your screen, thank you, Minuji Jagotaji, for also joining, Sandeepji. Dilipji from Maryland, a regular, thank you for joining. Badam Lal from Nepal, currently in Boston, appreciate you. Bahalikaji from in Shatapata in Brahman. Okay. What? Dhurandhar. All right, you got me. Sorry, I was just reading. Let me put some details of the course, and I think yeah, you're in full screen mode right now. Great. Thank you.
Yes. So now I have the basic introduction provided, and then I am just sharing some slides so that we can understand what is objective of the course and how we are going to proceed, etc. So this course, of course, it is described as geochronology of Rigveda, rivers of Rigveda. So these are different names, but basically it is focused on the rivers or the geography or the chronology of the Rigveda, and it has got 41 hydronyms, and that is what I mentioned as river names. 41 hydronyms means river names, and there are 32, 33 number of rivers also mentioned in it. And primarily it's refuting the Aryan invasion theory. And as I mentioned, it also gives an anchor to both the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. And you can see that this particular course is structured on the based on my book, the Rivers of Rigveda. You can search in the Amazon. It's available all over the world. People from different countries like Amazon, I mean, they can purchase it from Amazon UK, Amazon USA, Amazon.com. That is USA. Anywhere you can go and search and buy this book. And around 30, if I have around 30 plus rivers, and then 80 plus Rigvedic divinities like Indra and others, then 400 plus Rigvedic rishis, 200 plus kings, almost matching with the 200 plus Indus Valley cities. You have 200 plus kings in the Rigveda, and so many number of Rigvedic meters. And all these are illustrated using geography maps, around 60 plus geographical maps. And the complete out of India theory is completely explained, and Indo-European origin in the on the Saraswati bank. All these are illuminated, and many events inside the Rigveda, like Dasharajana battle. Many people might be knowing about Dasharajana battle, Battle of 10 Kings, and you have Varshagra battle, Battle of Sarayu, Battle of Yamuna. All this you can see, and here you can in the this is the back cover of the book. So many scholars have given their endorsements and appreciations in for the book. I think Dr. Ṛgvedam also is a faculty in the Hindu University of America. He is also given the endorsements, and Dr. Conrad and Dr. David Frawley, well known to all of us, Vishal Agarwal, Ajay Chajurvedi, like that. And if this is a kind of a bird's eye view of the course content, so we have introduction, then summary, then this Rigvedic patterns means the 200 kings I mentioned, and then Rigvedic poets, around 400 plus poets, that is the rishis or the composers of the Rigveda, then Rigvedic devatas, the Indra, Agni, like that, the Ushas, Indra, Agni, like that, and then Rigvedic rivers, our primary subject. So the 41 hydronyms are introduced, that is river names are introduced, and the 33 rivers are identified, and like that. And you have the core part. I mentioned the oldest part of the Rigvedic geography, the Haryana. So that is very close, mentioned as Vara Prithuvya, and later on as Kurukshetra. So those information and various other Rigvedic, very rare kind of some names you can see in the Mahabharata or Ramayana, like Chedi and Matsya. These are also present in the Rigveda. And then onwards, it is like one after the other, each and every river mentioned in the Rigveda. So Hariyupya and Yavyavati, two rivers in Haryana, Ganga in Uttar Pradesh, Saraswati in Haryana, Drashatwati in Haryana, Apaya in Haryana, Vipas and Sududri in Punjab. So like that, each and every river. You can see I'm not reading each of them, like Parushni, Asigni, Vipali, Sindhu, Sarayu. So like that, you have all the rivers one after the other. We will focus and study, and there are so many narratives like Indra's narrative and different various kings narrative associated with each river. So all this we will focus and study. And then we have an important chapter on Samudra, which the Western scholars always hide, because once you start Samudra, then no, they cannot connect Rigveda with Central Asia and all. So we have identified the Samudra with the Gujarat ocean around Gujarat, and so that our placement of Rigvedic geography is with very well in Indian geography. And then we are actually doing an analysis of the Rigvedic geography with the the current archaeology and our important conclusions, etc. And the subsequent part of the slide is actually giving you a kind of a glimpse of the material, the course material that we will be studying. That this is a kind of chart of the 10 mandalas of the Rigveda. Like the 10th mandala is the youngest mandala and the 6th mandala is the oldest. And the entire structure of the 10 mandalas and the number of suktas inside them. And then we have a lineage chart of the Rigvedic rishis like Angiras, Brigu, onwards, and their descendants in various other mandalas like that. And similarly, we have a royal lineage also, the lineage of kings like Divodasa, Sudas, Sahadeva, Somaga, like that. So we have this Rishi lineage chart and the king, the royal lineage charts, the mandalas, detailed analysis of each mandala. All these things we have. And as I mentioned, there are 60 plus maps. So you can see, the various geographical sub-regions of the Rigvedic geography. The Haryana is the central part, where you have the Saraswati and Trishadwadi and Apaya, Haryupya, Yavavadi, that kind of rivers you can see. Sapta Sindhu, which today known as Punjab. So you can see the Punjab rivers like the Ravi River, Parushni, Asikni, Marudvritha. This river is now lost, the dried up river, and Vitasta, Vipali, like that. So this is how we are actually studying the geography. So we will have a very well defined geographical maps for the rivers, and then like that we will understand the geography very clearly. Then Dasharajana battle. So sometimes we have to talk about some events. Like this particular battle happened in the Parushni River, and the troops, the 10 kings, they were all living or assembled along the Asikni River or Chenab River. All of them fought with the opponent King Sudas in somewhat around the Indo-Pakistan border. So this kind of interesting information also we will reveal in the course. And you can see some of the river dynamics, like sometimes now this is the how the river Sindhu changed the course, Indus River, how it was in the fourth and fifth mandala of the Rigveda, how it was in the 10th mandala, how it was after the 10th mandala, like we are seeing today. So this entire, it's like a multi-dimensional model of each river. And there is a comparative study of Rigveda and Ramayana. And one of the important insight we get is that the oldest ancestors of Rama, like Sagara, they lived along the river Saraswati, and subsequently the other the descendants of Sagara, like Amshuman, was along the river Amshumadi, that is Gemuna River, and Bhagirath on Ganga, and then finally the this Rama's ancestors, the closest ancestors were close to Sarayu River, and Ajada Charada Rama, that generation was along the Sarayu River. So these very important insights, which will refute the other spurious claims like Rama was in Sumeria, in Iran. All these things we refute because in the Rigveda we get evidence that Rama's ancestors were living along Saraswati. So it is not going beyond the geography of Rama. And whatever we identify Ayodhya city, the city of Ayodhya, is well within the Uttar Pradesh Harayu, is exactly the same location where the Ram Mandir is located. So these are all very important insight. Similarly, the migrations, all the consolidated migration maps, everything we are actually focusing. And like somebody, like in our introduction, there was an interesting question, the different number of rivers that you can see here, like all the rivers we are actually tabulating, and their geographical context, that is Haryupya, Yavavadi, Ganga, Saraswati. So they are between Ganga and Saraswati, Western Uttar Pradesh and Haryana. Other set of rivers in Indian Punjab, another set of rivers in the Pakistan side of Punjab. All this we are actually showcasing. And ultimately, from these tables, we can prove the out of India theory. That's also we are focusing. And the learning objective, from the point of view learning objective, the fundamental structure of Rigveda is of our interest, and the basic Rigvedic chronology. and the Rigvedic kings like rishis and devatas, and analyzing the region of the Rigvedic geography, each and every Rigvedic geography, and the hydronyms, the river. This is the core part of the course. The rivers inside the Rigveda and all the stories associated with the different rivers. For example, Indra is mentioned as bathing in river Parushni, Ravi river, and Indra's companions like Maruts also imitate Indra and bath in the river Parushni. Then Indra have a kind of conflict with the Ushas, goddess Ushas in the Bias river. So many such narratives that is similar to the Aitihasic narrative, the birth story of Indra, how Indra drinks Homa, all these narratives related to the rivers. These are all we will discuss. And we have the research the pattern of migration in the Rigveda and the direction of migration and Samudra. That is very important. Samudra is the make or break for the other Western scholars who try to locate Rigvedic geography in Central Asia and say Aryan migration from Central Asia or steppes. They got a pain point here regarding Samudra. So that's again then Rigvedic geography and archaeology comparison. And we typically structure it with some two assignments, and there will be quiz or multiple choice questions for each sessions where you can answer them and get some scores based on your participation and the progress. So this is how the course is structured. And we also introduce you with a lot of information tables, like which are the devatas mentioned in the Rigveda, and the popularity index of each devata. So that a lot of such interesting information which you don't get in other courses. So it's a kind of a data rich course, and also remove a lot of misconceptions related to Rigveda. People have asked questions like, are the Rigveda composed by any individuals? So here you can see, right? The Rigveda itself mentioned all the composer names. So there are 400 plus composers mentioned in various mandalas of the Rigveda. So it is basically not an authorless book. Every sukta have a composer name. Just sometimes multiple composers jointly author the suktas, like Vishwamitra's descendants or Kanwa descendants, like that. You can read it. Rijvasha, Kashyapa, Kutsa, Angirasa, Kakshivan, Dirghadamas, like that. You can see the Bharadwaja, Barhaspatya, the Brihaspati's son Bharadwaja, Vamadeva, Gaudama's son Vamadeva, like that. Vasishta Maitra Varuni, that is Vasishta, the son of Mitra and Varuna. Like that, every rishi name, and you can also see the poetic meter, that is Chandas, the different poetrical meter used for defining the Rigvedic verses. So Gayatri is very famous. So Gayatri is just one of the meter. Gayatri, a large number of Rigvedic riks are slokas are ordered in Gayatri, but the most popular is Trishtub, then Jagati, then Anushtub. And you have seen the around 60 different poetic meters are there. The Anushtub is the fourth most important or fourth most popular poetic meter in Rigveda. But Ramayana and Mahabharata are both authored in Anushtub meter. So you can see that all this, and then you can see many people doubt whether the Rigveda have any material culture. And we have identified that the Indus Valley civilization itself was the material culture of the Rigveda. So how do we prove it? Because in the Indus Valley, you have around 200 plus settlements. Most of them cluster around the Saraswati, but around 60-70% in along Saraswati, remaining 30% spread over the Sindhu River, Ravi River, and Harappa is just one settlement out of this 200 plus settlement. Harappa is just one of them on the Ravi River. But that was the oldest one which is discovered. That is why the entire civilization is called Harappan civilization. Then later on, Mohenjo-daro, we have discovered an Indus river. So they renamed it as Indus Valley. But now we know the largest number, 65 to 70% of the settlements were on Saraswati. So it is now called Saraswati Sindhu civilization. And so who are ruling these settlements? 200 plus settlements. So that those people, no, you don't get the names of the kings anywhere except in Rigveda. So Rigveda have around 200 plus kings, and Indus Valley have around 200 plus settlements. So they are the only matching. The literature is matched with the this civilization. I mean, literature and the archaeological civilization, they are well matched. So these are like I'm just showing some glimpse of what we can expect and how do we proceed in the this particular course, and how do we do the assessment I showed you, and how we are. It's a similar same structure, same course structure that in the University of America is following, and I am basically like as aligned the structure, course structure with whatever existing format that the university is following. So that's how it is structured. With that, I conclude, and then I will look for any kind of engagement questions. And over to you, Ankurji.
Yeah, thank you. That was great. I know you've offered it before and refining it, right? It's another iteration. What is the most significant way to make the case? And I think that's what you've honed in on. Really
Yeah.
appreciate your work on this, and I think a lot of our audience does as well. Kamala Mukherjee, I'm glad that you're here. Dad, Mayur Patel, thank you for joining from Los Angeles. Jasmine Patel from Los Angeles. If you haven't put in the chat where you're zooming in from, please let us know and I can give you a shout out. I put details of the course in the chat. It's going to start on Sundays. It's going to be on Sundays starting next week, January 11th. Jagdishji from Raleigh, glad to have you from North Carolina. Thank you for joining. Arunji from Southern California is asking, why do they say that the Vedas are a Shruti and Apurusha, heard and not composed by humans? If, yeah, like you said, you laid it out, like in the Rigveda, each of the composers is kept track of in a shloka in the family and all of that. So then how can they say has no author? Is that just like a, you said spurious claims, but is it because we weren't able to explain it? This analysis hasn't been done. Is that really how pioneering your work is?
Yeah, that's a very important question. So in my book introduction, I have actually answered that particular question. So mostly the idea that the Vedas are above Rishaya, it is partially correct, because the Vedas have geographical information, that is the northwestern India Bronze Age civilization is completely captured in the Rigveda. So it definitely have a location, a kind of geography, or a segment of geography or space is involved, and there is a segment of this time, that is chronology also is there. So in terms of that, it is bound to space and time. But there is a lot of philosophical, spiritual insights inside the Rigveda, especially in the 10th mandala. You have so many suktas, Nasadiya Sukta, Hiranyagarbha Sukta, Purusha Sukta. These are all suktas focused on this universe, creation, and social expansion, like the four Varna society. So that entire unfoldment of the society is explained in the Purusha Sukta. Hiranyagarbha Sukta is asking basic questions about cosmology. Nasadiya Sukta also asking even what was before creation. So that entire cosmological as well as philosophical aspects, the idea of the concept of Rita, the truth, universal order. So Rigveda is containing the names of historical kings, the river names, geographical information, chronological information, but it have eternal philosophy. And this eternal philosophy, it has intensified in the 10th mandala of the Rigveda, but continued that Vedic tradition is continued into the Aranyakas and finally distilled into Upanishads. And in Upanishads, you have very extremely high level kind of understanding, which even today, 21st century, the quantum after quantum theory, they just only started understanding that concepts are also there inside the Rigveda, which is distilled into Upanishads. So we have Prajnanam Brahma, Aham Brahmasmi, Tattvamasi, Ayam Atmam Brahma, like that. So many philosophical and Vedantic insights. And these insights tells you that there is a single consciousness. There is a universal consciousness that is singular, which is expressing itself as the universe itself, and all of entire existence, entire reality is just a kind of a projection of this universal consciousness that we call Brahman. So this particular aspect, which is coming from the Vedas, that I say Rigveda because most of the other Vedas are recycled suktas of the Rigveda. So I would say Veda. So whatever Vedic insights distilled into Upanishads, which we call as Vedanta, that is a super science, and that Vedanta is eternal. It is not something that we cannot say that the rishis have invented it. We cannot use the word invention there. The rishis basically discovered it. That means it was existing. This knowledge was existing forever. Eternally, it is existing in the universe because it's the knowledge about the universe itself, even higher principles of universe, that is the absolute reality or Brahman. So that is what the real Apaurishaya inside the Vedas. So when all this information slowly percolated from the Vedic period to through the Aitihasic period when Rama and Pandavas lived, after that the descendant of Pandavas like the Nichakru and the contemporaries of Sri Buddha like Shadaniga and Udayana. After that the Kshemaka who lived contemporary to Mahapadmananda, and after Nandas you have Sungas and Guptas. No, after that, Nanda's Maurya, Chandragupta Maurya, and then Sunga's. So entirely this much amount of time elapsed. So people started confusing and saying that the entire Rigveda is completely eternal, and there is no history or geography or chronology and nothing in the Rigveda. So they got a misconception like that. But we actually separate that there is historical information and geographical information in the Rigveda, which anybody, it's not straightforward. You have to dig through it like a data mining. You have to dig through it. You will get that geography and history in the Rigveda. But overall, the Rigveda is not focused on geography or chronology. These are all passing references, but overall, it is talking about the worship of the Devatas. And in that, the higher level, high frequency, or the higher level modulation, you can get eternal insight, Apaurushaya insights. That is what I mentioned as the Brahman consciousness. That is the ultimate reality is expressed inside the Rigveda. And that reality, which is described, it's finally get collected inside the Upanishads as Aptavakya. That is Prajnanam Brahma, Ayamatman Brahma, Tattvamasi. All these Aptavakyas, these are all Apaurushaya. They are eternal, and these are eternal knowledge that is not bound by time and space. So they are Apaurushaya and not authored by a single person. That is the meaning of Apaurushaya. This is basically a eternal information, and we can say that this is existing from the even before the beginning of the universe, because this is all almost like you're much bigger than your physical laws. They are much beyond physical laws, and they are almost just only discovered. The scientific community is only understanding it just in the 21st century. After quantum theory, there is an information theory of universe. So they're coming back to the Vedantic concept that the entire universe is just information. So that's why this is Apaurishaya. So I think I understand. I have explained it in a good clarity. And the book you read, the rivers of Rigveda, and the introduction chapter itself give you this information.
Yeah, great. And again, a lot of people don't have as much knowledge as you, clearly. You've written multiple books, and some people are just, still in the framework. Even when you said the Upanishads is distilled from the Vedas, and then you say even the other three Vedas you don't focus on so much because the Rig Veda is it first, and then the other Rigveda, and then the other three Vedas, the Atharva Veda and some Veda are recycled, is what you used, I think.
Yeah.
Is that, and so just give that context more broadly. I think Kamlakarji is just asking, just the order we can go through. And then is there a current Veda, or is it again reinterpreted, or like depends on the interpretation and what Vyasa did and what Adi Shankarya did, and all of that. So if you can give us at a high level, I think that would help
Yeah,
people.
yes, yes. So the Rigveda is the oldest text, and we cannot say the other Yajurveda or Samaveda, Atharvaveda, they are not the oldest text. So what happens is that 95% of the Samaveda suktas, that is a repurposed Rigvedic suktas. So Samaveda is 95% the Rigvedic suktas repurposed. So around nine, see, if you look at the Samaveda suktas, high chance that every no, you will see that same sukta inside the Rigveda. 95% you see in the Rigveda. And if you look at the other this Yajurveda, it's this particular percentage is 75%. So 75% of the Yajurvedic suktas are Rigvedic suktas re-rendered. Only the Athara Veda, this percentage is around 60-50%. So Athara Veda is more little more having an independent identity compared to the Rig Veda. But Samaveda and Yajurveda is almost like a repurposed Rigvedic suktas. Samaveda focused on the melodious recitation, and Yajurveda focus on ritual usage. So when you are performing a yajna, then you have the Yajurvedic hymns as the primary for the ritual usage. Of course, Rigveda is recited, and other three Vedas also recited, but Yajurveda is primarily for yajnas and for Yaju's purpose. So that is the difference. And Veda Vyasa have a role here because Veda Vyasa is actually part of that same lineage of rishis, the Vasishta rishis, who authored the seventh mandala of the Rigveda, and also contributed to different other mandalas as well, including 10th mandala. So this entire lineage culminate into Veda Vyasa. So basically, he looked at something like today's researcher. He looked back to the entire collective work of all his ancestors, and he decided to compile them. And that is how the Veda Vyasa compiled the Vedas. And then he basically he is the one person. Of course, in my second third course, I have resolved that this Veda Vyasa is not one person, but minimum three people. But that is a different matter. But it's a different another course. But at least for the purpose of the Rigveda, then we can consider this is a single individual. He started this tradition, the Vyasa tradition, and he compiled all these Vedas and then decided, okay, this much number of suktas is for recitation, as a melodious recitation. So it becomes Samaveda. This much become Atharva Veda, and like that. There was a traditional diversification for the single Veda into four different like branches. So that is what Rigveda becomes separate, Yajurveda becomes separate, and Sama and Atharva, they became all separate streams of Veda, like that.
Okay, that
Yeah.
is a lot, and I think it takes a course to get into it. So let us know if you're interested in the course and the poll. And again, if you haven't taken a course at Hindu University of America, Jijiji gave you a good preview of the kinds of materials that will be accessible. You log in, you have the access, you get to see it. People are asking, I got to get the webinar again. Yes, you can have this webinar again, but if you really want to dig deep, you got to take the course. Vijay Kane from the Houston area, thank you so much. And then, so let's also contextualize the Bhagavad Gita in the Mahabharata within the Puranas with Upanishads and Vedas because again people don't understand where everything is contextualized, but everyone understands the Bhagavad Gita. So if you can just contextualize that as well and give our audience
Yes. So the connection is like the Rigveda, which is the initial, the very origin of our Bharatiya thought process, and it have the proto predecessor of Dharma, the concept of Dharma, that is a Rita, that is basically it is kind of actually an expression of the universal order. Now, whatever we today call physics, that is basically Rita. So Rita basically is the study of the periodic the periodicity of the seasons, the periodicity of the planets. So basically, it's a universal laws which today we call as physics. That is actually mentioned. That is actually described by the Rigvedic rishis as Rita. And this Rita later, because in the Itihasas, Ramayana and Mahabharata, the Rita concept expanded into the concept of Dharma. And as I mentioned, the entire philosophical essence of the Rigveda got distilled into the Aranyakas and finally into the Upanishads. And once these Upanishads are authored, you need a gateway into the Upanishads, like because there should be some kind of a entry point so that a person can enter into the Upanishads. So that entry point is actually structured inside the Mahabharata as the Bhagavad Gita. So if you look at Mahabharata, one way of looking at it is that it is a basically, of course, it's a continuity from Rigveda because Shantanu is there in Rigveda, and Shantanu's son Vijitra Virya and Dhritarashtra are mentioned in Yajurveda, and subsequently you have the Mahabharata, where these Dhritarashtra's sons Kauravas and Dhritarashtra's brother Pandu's son Pandavas are conflicting. And so the chronologically we have the core part of the Rig Veda, then Yajurveda, and then immediately you have Mahabharata in between, where the Pandavas and the Kauravas are conflicting. So in that point, you have also the subsequent the Vedic corpus also distilled into Aranyakas and Upanishads at the same time. So Sri Krishna is a contemporary to the oldest part of the Upanishads. So what he basically done is that in a conversation between Arjuna, the Sri Krishna actually give the entire essence of the Upanishads, and this entire Upanishad introduction that is distilled in some of the that 18 in the 18 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. Many of the chapters are actually the contains some oldest Upanishadical insights, or the same verse in the you can see in the Upanishads also. Some of the Bhagavad Gita verses are repeated in the Upanishads, and they are the oldest Upanishad kind of essence of the Upanishads or the direct verses in the Upanishads. So, currently, when you look at it from the point of view of 21st century, if you look at it, the Bhagavad Gita is the kind of a gateway into the Upanishads. So you can see, or if you read the Bhagavad Gita, the chapters, you almost got the entire essence of the Upanishads. So if you that's how I structure it. So Rigveda is the oldest source of knowledge. This has got two levels of iteration. One is Aranyaka and another is Upanishads. Of course, Brahmana is also there, but it's a ritual direction. It's a different direction. So the philosophical part of the Rigveda is distilled into the Aranyakas. The same thing distilled into Upanishads. And Upanishads are distilled into Bhagavad Gita. So this is how the structure comes in.
Great. I think, oh man, that if Arun Jain was asking, and you answered the questions. You answered two people's questions with that beautiful insertion, and I'll read the questions because it helps frame it. Dhurandhar, I gotta get your real name. He's asking, why does Mahabharata refer to three Vedas? Was Atharva Veda, Veda, and
Ah, yes,
Yajurveda,
yes.
right? And you answered
As
it
I
exactly
as
you
I
said.
mentioned, yeah.
And
So
Arun Jain
Atharvaveda,
was saying, is there a
correct.
distinction
Atharvaveda,
between
sorry,
events that? Okay, fine, go ahead. But he's
sorry.
saying the same thing. He's asking the same thing,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
answered it. So
Athara Veda is the fourth Veda, and during the time of Mahabharata, it was being authored because Parikshit,
it's
that is
being
the
authored.
great grandson of the Pandavas, are actually is present in the Athara Veda as a contemporary king. So you can see that Athara Veda came later, slightly later, I would say, because it's already there by the time of Parikshit.
Yeah. And so Arun Jain was asking, is there a distinction between when events actually happened and when Vedas and Itihasas were actually written, since there was a long period of oral tradition where Vedas and even the
Yeah,
Itihasas were passed down generationally in a spoken way. And so, it's almost surprising to hear like the contemporaneous nature of what is the Itihasa, how it's written down, the oldest knowledge, and how these central figures who we call Lord or Bhagwan or avatars or incarnations of the divine and how it fits into the entire, Hindu framework, the dharmic understanding of the world, Vishnu and the avatars, right? And so I think I'm really impressed by how you can contextualize all of this and then also connect it to the specific rivers that are discussed and then map out how the historicity is important because it proves the divinity, right? And so now we have a few more questions. What else would you like to cover? Because we are at the top of the hour. And actually, you know what? We're gonna go off of YouTube Live and we're going to keep the questions going for our Zoom audience only. We'll pick up YouTube live questions later. Just after we cross the hour on the video, people stop watching.